Hey there, Code Wranglers. Welcome back. Ready to dive into something interesting?
Always. What are we looking at today?
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Gitflow.
Gitflow.
Yeah, it's interesting because you hear it talked about as kind of like a legacy thing.
Mhm.
And while it may not be the, newest kid on the block anymore,
Right.
it's still got some really valuable insights into how to manage software projects,
Yeah.
especially when you're thinking about, those big structured releases.
Yeah.
So before we get too far into the weeds here, let's set the stage a little bit.
Right.
So imagine you're on a development team building some big app, everybody's coding away, new features are getting added left and right.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't have a system to manage all those changes?
Oh, it'd be chaos. Complete pandemonium.
Right.
Yeah, that's where, your version control system comes in to kind of save the day,
Exactly.
being the big one that everybody's using now. And you can almost think of it like a time machine for your code.
Yeah.
Right? It lets you track all the changes, experiment, and, if something goes wrong, you can always roll back.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah. And that's where Gitflow comes in. Right? It gives you a framework for using Git.
Okay.
So it helps wrangle all that code and make sure everyone's on the same page.
So it's like instead of everyone just building onto one central tower of code and hoping it doesn't fall over,
Right.
Gitflow gives you like a blueprint, right?
Right.
With designated areas for, different phases of development.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And so at its core, it's about structure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
It uses specific branches, each with their own role.
Okay.
You've got your main branch, which is like your pristine, production-ready code.
Okay.
Then you have your development branch. That's where all the action happens.
Yeah, where all the magic happens.
That's right. All the new features, bug fixes.
Yeah.
Everything's getting ready for the next release there.
Okay, so we've got main, we've got develop.
Yes.
But it's not just a free-for-all in that development branch, is it?
No, it's not.
You've got these other branches.
Right.
Feature branches, release branches, hotfix branches.
Exactly.
It's like Gitflow really wants to keep things organized,
It does.
even when things get really busy.
Yeah, it's all about having a clear workflow. So, for example, those feature branches, think of those as like separate rooms
Okay.
off of the main workshop.
Okay.
So this is where developers can work on their individual features
Here.
without disrupting the main project, right?
So you're not stepping on each other's toes while you're trying to code?
Exactly. Keeps everything clean and contained,
I like it. Okay.
and then it prevents conflicts when it's time to integrate those features into that main development branch.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got feature, we've got develop.
Mm-hmm.
What about these release branches and hotfix branches?
Yeah.
They sound a little bit more high stakes.
Yeah, they definitely have a more urgent air about them.
Yeah.
So yeah, those release and hotfix branches, they're like the VIP sections of your Gitflow workflow. So think about the release branch as like the dress rehearsal before a big opening night.
I like it.
Right. So once the develop branch has a good chunk of new features,
Yeah.
you've got bug fixes, improvements, everything's ready to go. You create a release branch off of develop.
Okay, so it's like, okay, everybody, time to polish the act before we go live.
Exactly.
No more new features, right?
Yeah.
We're just smoothing out the rough edges.
Yeah, it's all about focus now, right?
Okay.
So the release branch is where you do your final testing, you make sure the documentation's all in order, basically get everything prepped for launch.
Okay.
And once it's deemed ready for prime time, it gets merged into the main branch.
Okay, so that's it. That's the big release.
That's the big release.
Okay.
And we tag it with a version number so we can keep track of everything.
It's like pinning a little flag on the timeline. Version 1.2 launched on this glorious day.
Exactly. And here's something that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Once that release branch has been merged into main, it also gets merged back into develop.
Back into develop. Why would you do that? I thought develop was for features that are still being worked on.
It is, but think about it this way. Any of the bug fixes or improvements that you made on that release branch, those might be relevant for future development too.
Okay.
So merging it back into develop just ensures that your main development line always has those latest fixes and keeps everything nice and synchronized.
It's like making sure the blueprint for the whole project is up to date, even with those little last-minute adjustments.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got feature branches for the individual tasks that we're working on.
Right.
Release branches for getting ready to release the software.
Mm.
What about those emergency situations, when like a bug makes its way into production and you need to fix it like yesterday?
Right.
That's where the hotfix branches come in.
Exactly. Yeah, those hotfix branches are like the fire drill for your code base.
Okay.
Everybody's got to jump in, fix it now. Super high priority. Imagine your app is live. Everything's running smoothly. then bam, critical bug pops up. You can't wait till the next release. Got to fix it now. That's when you hit that hot fix button.
So are we like bypassing the normal steps here? Get this thing fixed and out the door?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
This is important. You're going to branch directly from main.
Okay.
This is the only time you do this in Gitflow.
Okay.
You branch directly from main. You implement the fix really quickly, efficiently test it thoroughly, and then you merge it back into both main and develop.
So main gets the fix right away, and then merging it back into develop, make sure that like that bug doesn't pop up again in a future release.
Exactly.
Okay, like a preventative measure.
Yep.
This whole Gitflow system, it seems really thought out, but, you mentioned earlier it's a little bit legacy.
Right.
If it works so well, why are people kind of moving away from it?
Well, the software world moves fast.
That's true.
And, Gitflow's structure is really great for big projects with maybe releases that aren't quite as frequent. But in today's world, with agile development, continuous delivery, it can feel a little heavy.
Continuous delivery, those almost sound like fighting words when we're talking about structured releases.
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
Because with continuous delivery, the goal is to release updates really, really frequently.
Okay.
Sometimes even multiple times a day.
Wow.
And Gitflow, with all of its, longer-lived branches, it can make that rapid-fire workflow a little bit clunky.
So all those merges that you're doing in Gitflow, when you're also trying to do like really rapid releases, that can actually slow you down.
It can.
Okay.
Plus, modern development practices are all about automation.
Right. Right.
Things like CI/CD pipelines that are building, testing, and deploying your code automatically.
Yeah.
Gitflow's structure doesn't always work super well with those tools.
Okay.
They're designed for these very streamlined workflows.
So it's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole sometimes.
Yeah.
But even if someone's using a different workflow, like, is learning Gitflow still valuable?
Oh, absolutely. I think it is.
Okay.
It's like having a solid foundation in classical music, even if you want to be a jazz musician.
Okay. I like that.
It gives you that historical perspective, helps you understand those underlying principles of version control. And those concepts, they translate to other workflows too.
So even if Gitflow isn't the tool that you're reaching for on a day-to-day basis, having that knowledge can still make you a better, more well-rounded developer?
Exactly. Knowing different approaches and when to use them, that's really what makes the difference.
That's what makes you a code wizard.
That's right, a true code wizard.
Well, on that note, I think that's going to have to do it for our deep dive on Gitflow. For all you aspiring code wizards out there, we've explored Gitflow, we've seen how elegant it is, but we've also talked about some of its limitations in the face of all the new stuff that's happening in software development these days. So here's something to think about. I'd love to know, can you think of a situation where Gitflow is still like the perfect tool for the job, even today? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.